How's it going, boys? Johnny Superbman here, bringing you another Questions with Superbman. And this time, we got a few different questions here. I saved the best for last because I'll get into that when I get there. But I know I'm going to be talking about that last question for a while. We'll go over just a few little things here. First question comes to us from Waterfall447. And he wants to know, Johnny, can you get a PS3? Oh my god, boys, I know. I've been getting asked this question since we came up with this channel. Can I get a PS3 to have OTP hockey nights on PS3, all that good stuff? There was a time that I was thinking to myself, it might be a good idea. You can get both communities into it, but boys, honestly, when it comes down to it, there's just not enough time in the day. Alright, I only got my Legend 3 come January, alright? I'm not the type of player who quits out of every game. I mean, every game I play, it's a full game, so it takes me a while to get up in games played. I mean, Legend 3 takes 350 games. Could you imagine if I had an Xbox and a PS3? That's 700 games I'd have to play combined to get a Legend 3 in both consoles. No. So, boys, I mean, I appreciate all the offers from you guys to buy me a PS3. I appreciate all that good stuff. But that's not what we're about. We're not going to accept that kind of stuff from you guys. And even if we did, we wouldn't be using it, alright? It's just I'm an Xbox guy. I've been an Xbox guy. I don't have a preference. I'm not saying Xbox is the better system. Speaking for hardware, PS3 is the better system. I think Xbox Live, the ability of Xbox Live is better than the PSN network. But we're not going to go into that, alright? It's just the fact that I played Halo. Halo 2 really got me into Xbox, and I've never switched, okay? So PS3ers, I'm sorry, but we will not be getting a PS3, and if we do, we will not be having any OTP hockey nights on the PS3 in the future. But maybe somehow we'll be able to organize with somebody else who does have a PS3, okay? But please don't send me messages asking me to do that for you. I'll find somebody, okay? So no, we're going to say no to the PS3. So thank you, Waterfall447. Next is a question about the NHL. El Tampa Fan 9898L. My God, that's a crazy name. And his question is, what do you think about the super sweet Erik Karlsson season? Whoa, first of all, one word. Unbelievable. This guy, how many points does he have? I mean, it's ridiculous, but here's the thing, okay? Now, I really don't want to take anything away from him because a Norris Trophy is floating around, and you know what? He's young, but remember Teemu Selanne's first year? How many goals did he have? He had like 70-something goals, all right? Remember Ovechkin in his early years, all right? I have a theory. Now, this is not a fact. This is my opinion. This is my theory. When you got a superstar or a young offensive player, kind of like Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel, perfect. Okay, and now you guys know I'm not lying because I love Toronto, and it's hard for me to say this. But when you have a talented player on a crappy team, and yes, Toronto, I hate to say that, but, well, you know what? Okay, hang on, I'll get into that. That is the last question. But when you got a great player playing on a team that when other teams come into their building or when that team goes into other teams' building, they don't take them seriously, okay? The players can get points. Now, I know Ottawa is doing great this year. I'm not saying they're not, okay? But it seems like teams that don't really have the greatest systems, players can really flourish on those teams. But those teams don't go far in the playoffs, right? I'm sure you guys can go down the list and find a few exceptions. But it seemed like ever since the Washington Capitals became a playoff team, and a real contender for the Stanley Cup, Ovechkin stopped scoring all of his goals. So I don't think you can have both. I think if Ottawa wants to move ahead, yeah, they might be a playoff team, but no way they're winning the Stanley Cup. If Ottawa wants to win that Stanley Cup, I think Erik Karlsson's got to calm down a little bit. He can't be getting caught up ice too much. I know he's getting points, boys, but defensemen, you watch. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. If Karlsson, if he's going to stay at the pace that he's staying, you watch. He'll have a playoff moment where he completely ruins it for his team, okay? I'm just saying. But other than that, absolutely outstanding season so far for Erik Karlsson. I hope it can continue. Even though Ottawa Senators, big rivals for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's good for the game of hockey, and he's a super Swede. So I hope he continues, all right? So that was a good question from El Tampa Fan. The next one, this is a great question, and this is going to spark a lot of controversy. But it's from Pure Skittles, and he wants to know, or she wants to know, who would like to be, or who do I think should be on the cover for NHL 13? Man, this is a good question. Now, there's so many ways you could go. First of all, goaltender. When's the last time a goalie's been on the cover of an EA Sports? Was it Van Beesbrook back in the 90s? I could be wrong about that. But yeah, how about a goalie? Usually what EA Sports does is whatever NHL 13 represents, like if they've added new offensive features, they'll put an offensive guy on the cover. If they've added new defensive features, they'll put a defenseman on the cover, right? So it's hard for me to say. Who do I think should be on the cover? 2 players. I know you guys are 3 players. Okay, the first 2. First, Evgeny Malkin. All right, he hasn't been on a cover yet. I can't remember if a Pittsburgh Penguin has been on the cover. I don't think they have because they haven't used Crosby yet. So I think Malkin, with the season that he's had, he is a superstar, legitimate superstar. Everyone knows his name. I think that would be a great choice. He'll probably be on the cover for the Russia release games, but for North America, maybe not. My second choice, obviously, Sidney Crosby. He has not been on a cover yet. He deserves to be on a cover. They got to get that done eventually. I don't know if this is the year because he's been injured, but I can tell you this. If he does come back and they win the Stanley Cup, yeah, he'd be a strong contender for the cover, alongside of Malkin. And my third, I know you guys are probably going to hate this, but Phil the Thrill. I know you guys are just saying that because I'm a Toronto fan, but he really broke out this year. He's a great little player, and you know what? We haven't had a Toronto Maple Leaf on the cover in, I don't think, forever. I mean, I know Dion was on the cover in 2009, but he was a flame on that. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Leaf on there. But as I said, Malkin over Kessel. Definitely Malkin over Kessel. All right, so thank you for that, pure Skittles. And our last question, this is the one that I'm probably going to go on for a while here. Cam Jiblatman. Oh, man, I probably butchered that name. But you know what? He asked this question, and a lot of people asking the same type of question. What do I think about the Toronto Maple Leafs trading their coach? Oh, my goodness. All right. This goes back to the thing I was saying before about Erik Karlsson's season. You know, Phil Kessel having a great season so far. Joffrey Lupul having a great season so far. But we're not a playoff team. So under the strategies of Ron Wilson, he's allowing our first line to wheel and deal. But because of that, we're one of the worst teams with the puck. The amount of turnovers that we have trying to produce chances is ridiculous. And that's why we strung together a bunch of losses. Now, with the addition of Randy Carlyle, he's coming over, and you know what? He's, I don't know him. I don't know him in real life. I haven't scouted him. I don't know any of his systems, but I've just been hearing that he's implementing all these new systems, different forecheck, different defensive strategies, and I think the season still can be salvaged, but I've already said it to buddies of mine. I've already said it, and now I'll publicly say it to you YouTube subscribers. I said this before the Leafs got their win the other night against Montreal. The Leafs will not make the playoffs this year. I know it kills me to say it. It pains me to say it. I don't want to say it, boys. I'm not hating on the Leafs. I'm a Leaf fan, but I'm realistic here. I mean, I don't have our record in front of us. I don't want to go into the math right now, but we literally have to run the table. Even if we ran the table, I don't even think we'd end up with 100 points. So we're getting a ton of help from the other teams right now. It's actually kind of ridiculous. That's the only reason we're staying in the hunt, but we really have to run the table. But I like it. Randy Carlyle, I mean, it's a change up. We obviously, Brian Burke obviously told the Leaf Nation that we're keeping this team, trading nobody at the trade deadline. Well, trading a prospect, but not trading any of our starters. So if the starters weren't moving, who was moving? Obviously, Brian Burke's not moving, so somebody has to change to spark the confidence. Ron Wilson, poor Ronnie. I wasn't on that bandwagon of fire Wilson. I thought that for the first 3 years that he was a coach here, we didn't have anybody. Our third line last year was Boyce, Brent, and Brown. 2 of those players aren't even on our fourth line this year, okay? This was the first year that Ron Wilson really had a team. And, for the first half, he was doing great, but you can't excuse a 1-9-1 run after an All-Star break to fall out of the playoffs. So, just because of that, yeah, you got to, not to even say it's his fault, but just to shake up, you got to do something. So, that's my thought on that. I don't think the Leafs are going to make the playoffs. The Leafs are going to have, it seems like their restart is going to be next year. We got everybody signed still, The Leafs are still one of the youngest teams, boys. It's not like, after this year it's all over. No, it's not like we're the Vancouver Canucks or Chicago Blackhawks from a couple years ago. This team that we have out is only going to get older, better, more experienced, fine-tuned. The chemistry is going to go up. So, next year, I'm already looking ahead till next year. We have Lupul signed for 1 more year. Kessel Phaneuf signed for 2 more years, all right? I don't think goaltending is the problem. I think it's our defense. I think it's our strategies. It's our breakout. We have a bunch of nice young defensemen, great potential. But potential doesn't mean anything when you're trying to make the playoffs right now. I'm glad we didn't trade Shen. I'm glad we didn't trade Gardner. I'm glad we didn't trade any of our young prospects, you don't trade those guys. You let them develop. We still are a rebuilding team, okay? So, I mean, Shen might be the shits right now, but, I mean, what? In 4 years, he'll be 26, and then he still has 9 years ahead of him. So he's got 4 more years of experience to get to a veteran, man. We got to keep Luke Shen. We got to keep Jake Gardiner. They've got to make mistakes, and we've got to move forward, all right? So that's my thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs trading their coach. I think it was a good move, and I'm looking forward to see what the combination of Burke and Carlisle can do. Hopefully they can rekindle the magic that they had in Anaheim, all right? So there you go, boys. This video is going kind of long. So ask me any more questions that you want me to answer in the next questions with Superbman. But remember, keep it NHL related or hockey related or sports related. Keep it off the personal questions. You guys can ask them, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to answer them, all right? So for Johnny Superbman and the great Domsky, take it easy, boys, and we'll see you next time.